very slowly and then doing it. It's sonic boom when they are playing at 36,000 feet. It's still 107 decibels to the people on the ground.
So what part of the mission profile really is our trouble there?
Right. I mean, again, not my area, but I do feel like they're going to try to climb to cruise altitude before accelerating supersonic, because altitude is a key part of reducing sonic boom, right? It's aircraft shape and it's altitude, right? Distance from the ground.
And I'll just add, that's why we're working on high altitude missions, because it is a higher altitude, and you're right, it's subsonic until you get to the cruise altitude, and then it will go supersonic.
Right. Thank you for the question. Others for questions?
Hi. Thanks for the presentation. It's very interesting. I was curious, would you be able to, since you can't fly over land, and you do have a test bed way out in California, but you do a lot of testing here, could you not use the area over the Great Lakes to use the lakes as a set in Sound Denver, or kind of a absorber, and you're still technically not flying over land? Is that even possible? How big is the sound, the sonic boom actually? Is it a hearable 20, 30 mile area, or how does that work? Just curious. Thank you.
Yeah, like I mentioned, the plane does leave a path underneath the aircraft. It can be up to 50 miles wide. So you can imagine if you're flying New York to LA, you are potentially, disturbing people under the flight path, which is why we've picked the low level of 75 decibels as the goal. We feel like there's been a lot of human factor studies that go into our goals, right? Where we have people listen to simulated sonic booms, and we've heard the feedback and what people say feels acceptable to them, and then that fed into the design process for the airplane. I think it would be impossible to go coast to coast and just stay over water or completely unpopulated areas. So that's why we've tried to set a goal that is low enough to be acceptable. I hope I'm answering your question.
I think one of the questions too is why can't we test over Lake Erie? Am I right that when we get to this testing, you actually do want to test over land to get responses from the population?
Right. They will be picking cities, test cities to test over land, right, to see if people even hear the booms and if they find them acceptable.
Yeah, and part of the reason why is if it is annoying, and you want to know that too, right? That's part of the finding of the FAA, I'm sure looking for.
Right, yeah, that's part of the community surveying. We want to know to what degree it's annoying. And the survey is structured, I have not seen it, but it's structured in such a way that it digs deep to find out, comparing the data to what Ray was talking about earlier in, I forgot what they're called, the rooms that they would go in and hear the boom and what did they perceive and how annoying was it. We're going to do that in real time, for the people in the communities. And as far as over, the Great Lakes region particularly, they're holding that close to the vest. We don't know where they're going to test.
Great, thank you. Thank you for the question. That's enough. Go ahead.
Yeah, two questions for you. So first, you got a very black nose here in all your pictures. So it makes me wonder, what about different aircraft attitudes when you were doing action or anything like that? How does that change the sonic boom? Does it change more of your pitch or something? And the second question is, sonic booms were usually short and kind of over with. Is the new low sonic boom also going to be short? Is it now going to be more of a long sound?
Sure, I can tackle the second one first, right? It should be similar in duration, but a softer thump instead of a boom. And then, as you mentioned, the aircraft shaping is key to reducing sonic boom, but aircraft maneuvering does affect sonic boom, right? As if you're in a turn, it does focus towards the center of the turn. So that is an important part of route planning as well. Right, this is not going to be a highly maneuverable vehicle. It's going to be doing a very gentle route between, from say New York to LA, so that you're not creating those focus booms with maneuvers. If that makes any sense.
And I'll just add a little humor here, but when
received the question